Willie D Live.
How did you find the light when in between leaving the group and finding your own purpose as a solo artist? Because I know that had to be a tumultuous time, and it had to be a time of uncertainty. Here you are living the dream that you had, like this is what I've always wanted to do. I mean, you're young, but but it took up a lot of space in your mind, like hey, in your head, like this is what I want to do, and now you're doing it, and now you're part of something special. This thing is big. It's bigger than that you probably even imagine it might be.
Yeah,
it's big, and then all of a sudden, it's gone. Like, how do you bounce back, and how did you get through it? Like, what was like a major life hack that helped you get through it?
I think for me, I didn't try and understand it.
So you walk by faith, not by sight.
Absolutely.
Huh.
I'm a faither.
Yeah.
I'm a faither all day. You can ask my husband. I be faithing it out here, okay? I didn't try and understand it. I think I was too young to understand it. I mean, that happened when I was 17, 18 years old. I'm 43 years old. And I still, hopefully, God willing, have a lot to learn and live. Many more years, hopefully. But I think it was like, okay, this happened. This is terrible. It feels bad. But this is bigger than me. And I think that the situation is bigger than something. It's a bit more complicated than what it looks like. And I might not even have all the information to be able to put the pieces together to even try and understand it. So I'm not, But I believe, like I said, that I'm still here and I'm still supposed to be doing something. And there was a period when I was like, I don't know what that something is. I didn't know. For a minute, I didn't want to sing anymore. I felt that I didn't have a voice. And I felt also that I didn't know if I could stand on my own, especially when you're a part of such an amazing, powerful group full of beautiful, different voices, and some, obviously, voices that are bigger than your own. And I think for a minute I was like, I don't know if what I have can amount to, or like can, compete with what's out there. And then something was like, bump that. Like, everybody has their own voice. No one sounds the same. That's the beauty of music. You know what I mean? Is the individuality of it all. Like, and so once I got over myself and once I got out of my way, I went into the studio and started recording songs that I didn't go in there going like, I'm finna be the next, or this is this, or I'm seeking revenge. No, indeed. There wasn't a spiteful, I'm looking for the words, like, I wasn't trying to malicious, like I wasn't going in there angry. And I think when people come out of hurtful situations or situations that didn't turn out their way, they feel like, oh, I'm going to get back. This is how I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make records, angry records. And I'm going to shut it down and I'm going to tell my side. Never.
Like I did.
Oh, you did? See?
When I first started.
Listen.
When I first started, we'll come back to that. But go ahead.
I just ain't that person. I was like, let me talk about what's really going on in my life. I'm going through some heartbreak. Like, my man ain't acting right. Let me just, let me talk about what's in front of me, like what I can't control. I would rather, let's dive into that. So I went into the studio really, I wasn't certain.
Were you in survival mode?
I was in, let's see what God can do. I really, at some point during that whole process, I learned that I had to get out of the way.
Sounds like you were on a journey.
I was. And I'm grateful for this journey. Like, when I came out of D.C., we were still obviously here in Houston, living with my mom. And I remember hearing this, radio interview. And I noticed, okay, I probably won't be able to stay here. I'm gonna have to get out of the city because I feel like this is where it all began. This is where everyone is, and I don't know if emotionally I can like handle that. So I'm gonna run. So I ran to Atlanta. Thinking I was gonna escape it. They were still in the front of my popcorn bag. They weren't going nowhere. They were all over the radio. There was no escaping this phenomenon. No way. I don't know what I thought I was thinking. I obviously was not thinking. But when I went, I'm grateful that I did because I ended up, me and Elle had tried to start a girls group there. That didn't work out, Angel. And then I ended up living with my big sis, Adria Wright, who was heavy in the church. And I'm talking about heavy, I'm talking about at the church every day. Like, even when wasn't nothing to do with the church, we just sit in the parking lot. And I feel like that time, was necessary in my journey because although I wasn't excited about going to church with her all the time, I was like, why we need to go this much? Ain't it? I thought this was just like for Sundays. No, ma'am. And so I ended up falling so deeply in love with God all over again. My relationship completely changed. I got a better understanding of who God was, who I was, my growth. I mean, it just so many. I learned that there was life outside of what I had, experienced, outside of the group. Like it was, like God is so much bigger than what you're going through. That's what I learned. It was like this, yes, you might be experiencing heartbreak and all these different things, but God is so much bigger than your problem. And once I learned that, I became confident in myself and confident in my relationship with God. And I think from that, hell broke loose. There was a fire inside that was lit, and it was like, oh, yeah, it's up. And yeah, I feel like looking back now, that had to happen in order for this to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Was there ever a moment of being conflicted about doing gospel music and secular music, you being so deep into the church and people having their judgment about that?
I did a movie called Preacher's Kid, and I wasn't even thinking this because I know I was confident in my relationship with God. I was raised in the church. My father is a minister. And so I came up in the church. I'm like, everybody knows T love the Lord. Like, there's no question about that. But when I went to do this movie and she played a PK, the church mothers wasn't happy with me, I guess because they knew I sang secular music and they were like, why do they have this secular artist playing, this in this Christian movie? And I was just like, wait a minute, I thought y'all knew I love the Lord. Like, what is happening? And so I think from there, I was like, I'm not going to, it might be a little rough to jump into, singing gospel music. But if ever given the opportunity, I mean, I sing in the shower for the Lord all the time. Mm-hmm. Like I sing in the choir for the Lord know my heart. So I would, but I do know sometimes us church folk can make it a little hard to cross that line. Some folk don't understand that you can sing about life experiences outside of the church as long as it's not demonic. But things that people are really out here experiencing and still have a heart for God. Yeah. And anybody that knows me knows that I have a heart for God. So yeah, if the opportunity presented itself, I would. But I knew, baby, when I did PK and them church mothers started looking at me like, I said, oh my God, it's getting a little scary. I did not expect that reaction.
Well, yeah. I'm sure they warmed up to you.
Oh, they did.
You got that type of effect on people.
Then I did Greenleaf, and they hated me even more. And they were like, you sleeping with the bishop. I'm not, that my character is, I am not Rochelle Cross. But the church mothers now love to hate me because, I was in their favorite church show.
Yeah. So I had a similar experience at your old church, Brentwood. Mm-hmm. So I go to, I don't go to church because I'm making this secular music. And I'm making some real secular music, right?
I mean,
and so I don't want to go because I think I got to be perfect if I'm going to church. I'm thinking like I can't be doing nothing wrong if I go to church. I can't do nothing inconsistent.
That's why you
with
go.
the word, right? But that was my thinking as a youngster, right? Yeah. So I walk in, and this guy goes, Willie D, man, hey, man, what's up? Man, what you doing here? like I had some damn horns on me or something. I was like, damn, what you doing here? I said, I'm doing the same thing you doing
doing
here.
right.
So I'm trying to hear the word, brother, trying to get saved. He said, oh, okay, yeah, man. Hey, man, good to see you, man. I said, yeah, good to see you. Damn. I don't want, but that's why church folks be getting such a bad rap. You know, that hypocrisy, man, that hypocrisy. And what's going on with all of this crazy stuff that's happening in church, people fighting, people cussing in church.
Oh man, I was hoping that was this is so funny. I saw something on Instagram the other day where these two ladies were fighting or arguing in church, and they said it ended up being a play, or it was on YouTube. There's like a whole full video, and whatever was happening in praise and worship service was supposed to kind of lead into the story that the sermon the pastor was preaching later on. So that was supposed to be like a play. It wasn't a for real thing. So that's what I heard, but it's up in these, up in church. People are definitely expressing themselves a little different than when I was going as a kid. But I mean, I'm a church girl at heart. I know that's a whole separate, different conversation. But regardless, I feel of who's in the pulpit and what's going on around me in the pews, I try and go to church as often as I can. I want my children to know the importance of going to fellowship with other churchgoers. Of course, nobody likes the judgment. Nobody wants to be judged. Nobody should be judging. Let's start there. Because ain't nobody perfect. The perfect one died how many thousands of years ago? Okay, so if nobody's in Jesus, if you ain't Jesus and you can't raise your hand, then everybody should just calm down a bit. Settle down.
You sound like a kindergarten teacher. Right?
Jesus is not, he's present in our hearts, but he is not here on earth. He died many years ago and he was the only perfect one. So let's
break
just.
It down. Put it on a rudimentary level.
You know. With a real Jesus, please stand up. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to take you back. Do you remember a conversation that we had when you guys had left the group? Well, this is before you left the group. And you said that you and Letoya, Latavia. I'm talking about Letoya. You and Latavia.
I was like, maybe it's a nickname, but go ahead.
Yeah. But you and Latavia was not wanting to leave the group. Y'all just wanted to have your own management. You remember that conversation?
Yes.
And I told you not to leave that group. Don't do that. And I said that ain't gonna work.
You probably did say that.
Yeah.
You probably did say that.
So, because something like that never works. Like if there's a group, then you got to have one manager. Because otherwise, this manager gonna be over here doing this. This manager
it's going to get confusing.
But I realized that perhaps
and Matthew ain't finna co-manage with nobody. I love Matthew to death.
Matt, and I don't want to. And I'm glad you mentioned you said that because I want to make sure that I don't want you to get into specifics or whatever.
Oh yeah, and I'm not.
This person did this. That,
no,
I don't want to get into none of that. What I'm trying to do is get information and instructions for people that are listening.
Yes.
There are other artists out there today that are aspiring artists. And that was my gift to you as an artist, as a fellow artist, to say, hey, because of my experience, because I know I left the Ghetto Boys too soon, I ended up going back, my spot was still available when
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I ended up going back, but I did leave too soon before I established myself all the way as that guy, right? So when you we're talking about leaving, I was saying to myself, I was thinking that, was it the lawyers that were saying, y'all need to do this, do the whoop? It was the lawyers.
We were 7.
Because the
I
lawyers
made
don't
this.
have. The
I'll
lawyers
make this
don't have
very clear.
They don't have a dog in the fight, really.
No, and so when you're, we were so young.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we were young, and I feel like we didn't have all the information. I feel like we were kids trying to play in an adult game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And not really knowing how that would have an effect on the group. I think that we desired one thing, or just we wanted to be heard, or wanted,
Right.
to have there to be more communication.
Right.
And there's a way that you go about expressing that. And I think that the adults in the situation handled it the adult way. And with us being children, we didn't understand the repercussions, or, how this could have an effect on our futures.
Yeah.
And we've talked and everything since then. Everybody kind of wished things could have happened differently, or things could have been communicated differently. But I think, like you said, to anybody which I wish there were more groups now. I don't know why we going away from groups. I know record labels and folks ain't signing groups. It's a bigger budget, all these different things. But I love groups, and I have such an appreciation for, especially singing groups, the harmonies, getting to pick your favorite one. You know what I mean? All of that.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of that as much anymore.
That. Boy, y'all
we had that, and so
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Voices, I'm talking about beautiful voices, beautiful faces, beautiful personalities, beautiful work ethic. Like, that was like, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna be straight up. It took me a while to get used to, you guys not being in the group. It took me a while, but obviously, my love for the other girls who were still in the group, won me over.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was like, I think I may have went to therapy 2 or 3 times.
Now we sent you to therapy. Really? What?
I think I may have went to therapy, man.
Well, you was on. Like, for real, you were for real there since we were 11, 12 years old. You were a part. I remember you coming to studio sessions. Yeah. You were like, kind of like our god dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were always coming in to check on us and make sure we were straight, and you was definitely wanting to make sure, hey, don't y'all be out here messing with no boys. Don't y'all, you were like a godfather to us, And so if I haven't said it before, thank you. I appreciate you for all the knowledge, the wisdom that you gave us during that time and even after. And I'll just say, like, I feel like there was already things stirring and brewing, and I don't know if that just kind of helped to tip things over the cliff. But I can also say I am grateful that it happened the way that it did.